All right, TQA Quality Minute. Today, we are talking about the context of the organization. So we're going to address this real brief, but context of the organization is one of those clauses of the ISO 9001 standard that really makes no sense to a lot of us. We sit here and wonder, how does it fit in? Why do we have to be certified to it? Why is this part of the audit process? It just seems a little out of place. But it really isn't if we take a look at it in the proper detail. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the context of the organization here. So context of the organization, we've got a few parts here. So the first part is understanding the organization and its context, which is an odd way of saying something. I don't think any of us speak this way in normal life, but I tell people all the time, if you asked lawyers to document common sense best practices, you get ISO 9001. Second part is understanding the needs and expectations of interested parties. This is a little easier to grapple our heads around. And then determining the scope of the quality management system. So this is what we're going to talk about today, and we're going to do it very quickly. So understanding the context of the organization. So the organization shall determine external and internal issues that are relevant to its purpose and the strategic direction that affect its ability to achieve intended results of the quality management system. The organization shall monitor and review information about the external and internal issues. Wow, that does not sound like normal English. Let's try to break this down just a little bit better. So you need to know issues that affect your business. This is kind of leading us into interested parties. You got to monitor and review these, and you kind of got to have a plan of where you're going. So really all this is saying is be aware that your business, that your organization fits in the middle of everything else going on around you. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. For some of us, that has a much greater impact than others. So if you're running an operation with potentially a lot of environmental impacts that could be going on, we're really going to care a lot more here. On the other hand, the oil and gas industry has experienced this. There are tons of external issues that impact the oil and gas industry. So lots of things to consider there. But now we'll skip down to understanding the needs and expectations of interested parties. So due to the potential effect of the organization's ability to consistently provide products and services that meet customer and applicable statutory and regulatory requirements, the organization shall determine, and it goes on from there. One of the reasons this is in the standard here is in the previous version of the standard, we had the requirement to meet legal requirements, but it was before clause 4. It was not auditable. So with interested parties, we now have a requirement to care about our legal requirements. Not only care about legal requirements, but this kind of gives us the door into the whole ESG world, which we can talk about in another discussion here. So you have to know about legal requirements. You have to know about other maybe just regulatory requirements. We'll take a look here. Statutory requirements is maybe there's certain best practices in your industry. Maybe there's not any laws that state you have to operate this way, but you do need to know about these things. It also means that you need to know about, again, the environment that you're working in. If you're wanting to put a machine shop next to a residential area, maybe you need to think about that. I have no issue with mixed use development. I think it's a fantastic thing. I used to be an architecture major. That was part of what I wanted to go to school for. The idea of mixed use is fantastic. But we probably don't want to put a machine shop right next to, a community with a lot of older folks who maybe need a little more sleep. The loud noise just would not be a good thing. And again, we have the requirement here to monitor and review. So you as the organization get to decide when, where, and how you do that and how you document it. But you do have to monitor and review these things. So then we come down here to determining the scope of the organization. But before we jump into it, because these things are building on each other, we need to know, in general, what we do, external impacts, internal impacts that impact our business. Now we need to know about interested parties of how we are impacting other businesses and getting real particular requirements for us there from those external requirements. Now we go into the scope. The organization shall determine the boundaries and applicability of the quality management system to establish its scope. Okay, well, when determining the scope, the organization shall consider, hey, 4.1, our external and internal issues, the requirements of interested parties, and the products and services or the organization. Now, I'm not going to go through here and read the rest because it's good detail, but for the purpose of what we're looking for here, if you need to determine the context of your organization, it's actually fairly simple. And this is a fantastic summary right here, is what are the external and internal issues? Tell me a little about your business. How do you fit into the rest of the world? Are you part of a supply chain of another industry? Are you kind of on your own, doing your own products and services for a variety of industries? Really, where do you fit in with the world? This is one of the key things that anyone that's getting into sales needs to know is how do we fit into our little local ecosystem of businesses? The requirements for relevant interested parties. And I like the fact that they put the word relevant interested parties in here, because let's be honest, you can go on into infinite detail about the possible impacts to your business. So we need to determine who's relevant. Now, how you determine relevant is largely actually up to you and the organization. Document how you make the determination, though. Then the last piece is the products and services of your organization. Oh, well, that's straightforward. You make something, you provide something. So now we know where you fit in with the world. We want to make sure that you're paying attention to certain risks that are out there in the environment, and tell us what you do. So that effectively, folks, is the context or the organization. So the better you understand your context, the better you understand how and where you fit into the greater ecosystem of the business world that you're in, the much, much better you're going to be at actually providing a quality product and keeping out of trouble with legal issues. Your sales team's going to do better. Everything's going to do better. And this is one of the reasons why this is at the start of the standard. So I really think this is a wise addition to the 2015 standard. And it actually can benefit us rather than just being this kind of quirky part of the standard that we feel we have to get audited to for sometimes no good reason.